Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The gen brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's the guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win, even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. FOMO's gone, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. In the glass, risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs told me to ape again and again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. If I crash, at least I tried. In this wild west of blockchain rights. I'll be trading till the lights go out. Charts are noise, but I live for the sound. One candle spike, and I'm back in town. Crypto's a fight, and I'm 10 toes down. Diamond hands with the crack in the glass. Risk it all, no brakes, full gas. But I'll reload, I play to win, even if I lose it all again. Woke up late, charts on fire, red and green like a funeral pyre. Discord screaming LFG, but my portfolio's haunting me. Spiked my coffee with regret. Last night I longed to break out bet. Now I'm broke, not broken yet. Just one more pump I won't forget. Buy high, die huddling. The gen brain dopamine's controlling. Ride the whale or get wrecked clean. This crypto dream's a guillotine. Fake guru with 1,000 subs showed me coins in shady clubs. Promised moons, Lambos and jets. Now I'm left with JPEGs and debts. Scalped my soul in a 5-minute chart. Market dumped and it ripped my heart. But I'll reload, I'll play to win, even if I lose it all again. Buy high, die huddling. Gas fees burn, but I keep rolling. FOMO's gone, greed's the king. This crypto dream's a punk rock thing. In the glass, risk it all, no brakes, full gas. Liquidation, call me sweet. Whisper welcome to defeat. No stop loss, no regrets. Code and chaos, no safety nets. Satoshi's ghost in my DMs told me to ape
Good morning, guys. How's it going? You got Overcome here, Paul, Noah, Josh, Steering, Aldo Crypto. How you guys doing? All right. So let's get to it. So Bitcoin over the weekend, it's being a bit of a drag, but we had a really good opportunity over here with a double bottom change of character. During this moment here, we had our bearish flip. We were talking about that on Friday, where we were preparing for a short in this area because of this supply right here and the fact that we had a ton of liquidity here from the start. It all kind of began, the liquidity started stacking during this moment where we were basically just consolidating into a squeeze and just started stacking more and more liquidity until eventually we came up and we took it, and it was used as X liquidity. I was mentally prepared for this to become a trend-based move, but we had, when it comes to ranges, 80% of the time we come back down. So you should always prepare at the top or the bottom of a valley area to prepare for, longs in the bottom of the valley area and shorts at the top of the valley area. But during this moment, this is like a picture-perfect moment telling you that we might not be returning to that valley area. When we break out and retest, use it as resistance, and then confirm it as resistance with the lower low, break a structure. So during this moment here, you prepare for a rotation back to a previous valley area, or at least to a key barrier that could cause or induce a reversal. And we can go over this barrier right here because there's two forms of decent confluence other than just the structure alone that define this as a good spot to prepare for reversal. And if we zoom out on the bigger picture, we can see that we're in like a larger range right here, and we just reached that valley area low and swept this low right here from December 24th. Right? Around 11 a.m. December 24th, we kind of wicked down and we started to do some liquidity down below us, and we just swept it here. And if we zoom back in, we built a descending double bottom, which are, in my opinion, they're the best double bottoms that you can get because any newly added liquidity is taken and is used as fuel to help drive the price back up, right? So during this change of character, you could have entered a trade, place your stop loss here. If you're an SFP trader, there was an SFP opportunity here. That was a front run to all of this. But if you took this SFP, this would have been your first take profit area because you always want to look at the most recent proper pullback and target that area as your key area of interest for your SFP trades. But once you get that change of character, then you could evolve your target to go further, right? And when I get changes of character like this, I look for supply warnings, right? We have one here, and we have one right here. But this one right here comes with the confluence of a 30-minute order block and the previous valley area low that we just left, right? And so this would be a really good spot to take some gains. If you're in on any longs, this is a good spot to watch out for, right? And we just hit it now, like coincidentally when the live started. But now if you're in a long position, what you want to look for a continuation is acceptance into that valley area with a preferably with the break of structure within it, like this, using the valley area low as a form of support, right? But I could see a really good confluence here as well because we have our 15-minute orb that just got created here. So if we come back up and we use the orb as support and we have that break structure leading into the valley area, then we can prepare for a rotation back up to the valley area high at 90,202. But the way it looks right now is not looking too good. So we had like a doji reaction, which is a good a good sign that we could be trying to find support. But it's also, think of it as a warning sign of indecision, right? So you got to zoom in and see what decision we're trying to make. And yeah, same kind of story, doji reaction when you zoom in a little further. And we're about to get that bear change character way late. So there wasn't really much structurally that could have warned you that we're going to come down, other than the fact that we're starting to engulf bearishly at the top there. And with all the confluences of resistance with the supply and the value area high there. So now we're coming back down. We're tapping the VWAP. What low if I were to be in this long, I took a quick scalp from this, like nothing that it's just over the weekend or late night, so I didn't really signal it or anything like that, but I took a quick scalp here. Nothing crazy. But if I were still in this trade, I would be looking maybe at this low. I wouldn't want a close below this low. Getting a close below here. I know we see like there's a 15-minute order block that could help induce a bounce, but getting a close below here could, drive us back down to like not very far down, I would say, or like 86,886. We can pull a fib now that we got this strong reaction from the low to the high, and we can use confluence to prepare for longs again. But we need to see structure similar to this, right? We don't just I don't just ape into longs. I need to see at least 3-minute time frame structure defining this as support through like a double bottom or change character. So what we could do is we could box this zone as an area of interest for now while we wait for a price action to come back. I like to box the 618 all the way down to the 786. So now we have a buy zone from 87,132 down to 86,663. Right, and then we can delete this now. And we can see that we have 3 forms of confluence with this buy zone. Right, we have the golden pocket 786 level that we just spoke about. We have the 15-minute order block that's kind of, it would be mitigated by a tap, but we have that zone kind of overlapping our area of interest. And we've got that 66-day valley area low again here. So by coming down here, we can look for that bullish change of character. If you want to be a little safe, depending on what kind of structure we get, of course, if we do get that reversal, you could wait for acceptance into the orb again, which starts at 87,396, or if you want to round it up, 87,400. And getting that acceptance into there with a candle close, then that can help give you that rotation back up to the top side of the orb, which ends around 88,537. And based on the current candle, which closes in about 1 minute on the 15-minute time frame, this is a decent fair value gap. So by getting acceptance into the orb, you'd likely have a fast move to fill that fair value gap to the opposite side of the orb. So I think we have decent confluence here to prepare for a long position. The only thing that we're really lacking is just the structure to get here and to define it as support. If you are a limit trader and you don't like to wait for structure and you're impatient for any reason, I can't control what you do. But if you were to jump into on this, the only real stop loss guard that you have structurally right now is way down here at 85,968. But patience pays so much in this space. So if you're being patient and you want to wait for that structure, you're very likely going to get a better stop loss guard based on that structure and better risk to reward ratio when we have this as our primary target. I'll be targeting first the top of the orb, but really we can get probably back up to this high if we find that support at that previous value area low. And then to get us the target extension to tell us that we could hold the trade, well, to be defined based on what kind of structure when we get there. Similar to how we're using structure to define our entry here, we can use structure to define our exit plan here. So like any reversal structure, if it gives it to us, you could always just take some off the table, of course, because you could have a situation like we just had here and have like a strong reversal and not really any structure to define like an entry plan for shorts. So yeah, opposing change of character, definitely get out, right? Bullish break structure continuation, you can hold it, especially if you get acceptance in that value area, and rotate back up to that 4-day value area high at like 90,200. We obviously, on the way, would have to be mindful of the point of control, which is at 89,566. But if we breach past that, then this giant volume node is going to act as a good capital guard, and we can start moving our stop losses below some certain key levels, like previous break of structure, strong lows, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now for Bitcoin. Just being patient, waiting for the long opportunity. Now the downside with this trade setup is that VWAP is no longer on our side. So you're going to have to watch that like a hawk too. So I'd recommend setting like a preset alarm in case you have like any opposing resistance like shortly after entering. All right, we're coming down. We just mitigated the 15-minute order block and the 30-minute that was there. Who we got in the chat? We got Mikey. How you doing, man? Mark. BB, how you doing, man? Colin, Remus. Sweet, thanks guys for being here. It is cold here in Canada. I'm covered in snow still from my knees down from like all the snow I just had to like track through just to get to the studio. It's bizarre. Canada's having a polar vortex, which just seems like normal Canadian weather, but they just try to make it scarier, I guess. But it is pretty darn cold here. And all I've got in this studio is a little tiny space heater, and it's doing good. It's holding up. Still, I don't have any frozen computers or anything like that in here, so we're set. But I usually go through a new space heater every year because Canadian weather, it's like an annual subscription, I guess, buying a space heater like for like $150, $200. And I got a member in, his name's Chow. He's a pretty cool guy. He's a member in InvestiShare that complaining about his Texas weather right now. I was like, just get out, man. What are you talking about? Doesn't even know. I'm gonna make him visit. Your DCA bag went from 50K in October down to 6K. That is brutal. You are investing in alts, man. You gotta be careful with alt investments. If you want overcome, we can go over maybe like a couple of your assets we can go over some of those and see if maybe there's a chance for recovery so you don't accept the loss that you don't have to. Because some alts are in a really bad state right now. And I bet a lot of them now is actually a good time to see what alts have relative strength because of this moment that we just had, right? If we're seeing, let's say, if we look at Bitcoin here, during this moment where we lost this valley area, if you've seen some of your alts have a slow drop instead of a faster drop like Bitcoin did here, then that's a sign of relative strength. If they're still holding their good positions, their good zones, their good key areas of interest, then that's a sign that you might be holding a decent asset during that time. But if they got punished like way, way more than the average alt, then that's a sign of relative weakness, and you got to be cautious holding that asset. And I know I said that in a very general way, but that's a good sign just to watch out for structurally to see if you might be holding like a good or bad asset. I was taking a peek at CAS, which we did some analysis on Friday, and this was a key level here that we were watching for long, and it did extremely well until we got to our next key level, which had the confluence of that 22-day value area low and we used it as resistance. We had a bearish flip, and then we had that bearish change of character shortly afterwards right here. This is the flip moment right here when we fail to get that higher high. It's called a descending triangle. Not descending triangle, descending double top. Basically, when you see that failure create higher high, oop, my bad. And then we take the low right here, this candle. This is a confirming candle. With descending double tops, you gotta be a little more careful with your stop loss placement. A lot of people like to use this to try to get the better R&R, but the safer play is to use the actual high here, right? So this will be the strong high. Once these change of character is actually induced, it would not become this, right? And then we got that change of character, and that developed as the strong high. And now we're kind of right back down to where we were, sweeping these lows. And we are building an ascending double bottom right now. So we had the supply concern here. We have a supply concern here. Just like Bitcoin, it kind of mitigated the closer one and just went straight to the upper one here. We could kind of look at the order flow like visually here and see that there's likely liquidity induced above this area. So that's going to act like a decent magnet. So we could have fractalization, and we're kind of already seeing it, right? So we're having an ascending double bottom here, and we could be building a larger one here. And internally, what we got going on, we could be building another one here, right? So this could be the spark to the run to break this neckline and bring us back up to test that value area low, right? And that's what kind of we're hoping on with Bitcoin right now, except it had that descending double bottom, which I prefer over the other one because we get that change of character. And when there's a change of character involved, there's likely more trade participants to help drive the price up, right? That's what confluence is all about. The more trade participants you get, the more confluences you get, the more trade participants you're likely going to get to help drive the asset towards your technical target. Okay, what we got now? Yeah, I'm full USDT right now. Jasmy was my biggest. Oh, Jasmy was your biggest. Well, we can take a peek at Jasmy if you like. Jasmy tried to piggyback off the AI sector, so did some good market share absorption during that period. But then, yeah, the AI sector is a little quiet right now, but it will get very loud soon once you start seeing more data centers developed. And that in itself is causing a lot of problems around the world right now with RAM and all that stuff. DJ, you're in Texas right now. It's 19 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 to 2 inches of ice on the roads. Fahrenheit. Oh yeah, I'm trying to mentally. So that's below zero here. So that's all right. That's pretty cold. That's like a springtime for Canada. Benak, sorry if I said your name wrong. Bro, love and support from India. Oh, thanks, man. Subscribed to you a few days ago. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we're trying to grow. We're getting there. I'm not the best entertainer in the world, but I will answer any trading questions you have. We're getting there. Let's see. Okay, let's take a peek at Ethereum too. Ethereum is doing the same kind of story as Bitcoin. Almost identical, actually. Right? We deviate away from our local value area. I could update this. But the last time we spoke about Ethereum, we were talking about a recovery here at the value area low. And it looks like we got it. We came down. We kind of built this like flag structure. What I don't like about, what I do and I don't like, depending on what I'm preparing for, when you're getting into a long, and then shortly afterwards, you start seeing this slow climb like this, and we start building, like stacking and stacking and stacking more and more liquidity below us like this. Once you start seeing like a opposing confluence or like this, downtrend momentum, supply zone, and a point of control, you got to prepare for that liquidity to be taken. People call this a liquidity curve, and they just prepare for it to hit resistance and take it all. And we did right here. Then we had an incredible opportunity for a long that was a quick burst up during this moment here. An ascending double bottom. If you're a Fibonacci trader, some of them prefer this kind of structure. because they normally align with like a golden pocket 786 zone like this, and they just ape in with the limit order, and then they use this as their stop loss guard. I don't like trading like that, but I understand how it works and how I could prepare and how I could teach people how to prepare for it themselves. The only reason why I don't like doing it is because I don't know the probability, and I do a lot of back testing to understand the percentages of what's like of occurrence, right? And if I don't know the percentage of occurrence, then I'm not going to take the trade. And I kind of suggest everyone to kind of follow along with that too. Back test every word every YouTuber says, or back test every rule, and then maybe apply more rules and see what the probability of the new rule is, all that stuff, so you can give yourself a mathematical edge in this space. It's all this is just basic and boring math once you get a full understanding of all the rules for your entries, your stop losses, and your targeting. All right, so we can delete this now. It's been kind of fully mitigated. But we can update this local valley area pole to the moment where we lost it right here, right? So we have more data to help guide us into knowing when we're going to get acceptance into this valley area. We also have the 162-day previous valley area low here in line with this area. So we have lots of reasoning to hit our head here, but also lots of reasoning to prepare for a long when we're below it. Because one really cool rule you could use for trading in valley areas is you can use like Fibonacci to help guide you into knowing when to prepare for longs. Realistically, it's just about seeing us being above or below a valley area where most of the liquidity is, right? So this valley areas merge with smart money concepts. They talk to each other, right? So you get our Fibonacci retracement tool, and you can click it from the top of the valley area to the bottom of the valley area low, like this. And then there are settings that you can set up to kind of gauge like a good key areas of interest where we tend to get those reversals. It's kind of a noisy under charts. But you can see this is the equilibrium point, which is the 50% level, the middle area of your valley area. And then our 0 and our 100 just represents like the bottom and the top of the zone. 125%, 150%. What you're really looking at is these numbers here, 50% and 25%. So when we deviated above a valley area, 25% to 50%, this is when you should be really looking for a short opportunity. And so all you really got to wait for is structure to define the entry. And same thing with the bottom side. When we're below 25% to 50%, prepare for those longs, right? It would have helped you a lot through here. Well, this is a little young, but definitely would have helped you through here. And it would have helped you here once you got the actual confirmation. But instead of a change of character, breaking this high here, we got the break of structure and continuation. So that's why you got to wait for structure, or else, you can't just assume a valley area low or valley area high is going to give you a trade entry. You still have to wait for structure. So right now we're fighting against this 162 valley area low, and now I can zoom out so you can see how we got that. We got it from an older range that it really is very similar to Solana in a sense where we have this previous macro range helping dictate entries. And sometimes they'll uncling to your levels. It's kind of weird. But this has helped us a lot during this journey here. And it's helped us a lot knowing that when we got this acceptance, we targeted the valley area high here, right? Same here. Acceptance into the valley area, target the valley area high, right? Acceptance to the valley area, target the valley area high. And now we're down here, same kind of thing. Once you get the acceptance in the valley area, you target the valley area high. We didn't reach it that time. You always got to watch out for the point of control. And there's that nasty 200-day EMA. In the course, maybe I don't talk about it in the course, but the 200-day EMA and the 50-day EMA are like natural enemies of valley area traders. They tend to kind of block you from hitting your target. So you have to use them as your like a TP zone to watch out for. Especially the 200 has a lot of weighted control over the price action. There's a lot of algorithmic market makers and algorithmic traders that use them as a tool for their entry and exit plans. But we're trying to get that acceptance back inside the valley area while also trying to get acceptance into a local one here and a more macro one as well. So we have like tons of reasoning to prepare for longs here. The one thing I don't like is that we didn't sweep this low, but we did have a 6-hour order block right here that we mitigated. Oh, I guess we mitigated sooner. We just tapped into it, but we completely wiped it clean the last time we came down here. So right now we're fighting that battle to try to get acceptance into this value area so we can start expecting a rotation back up. Macro wise, like looking at the 6-hour, like I could see reasoning to hit our head at our 70-day point of control at 3,086. We have supply here in the lower time frames, and we have the 50-day EMA there too. And depending on how long it takes for us to climb up there, if we do climb up there and we get that acceptance, we could hit our head off the uptrending momentum again, like we did here. And think of this as the pace of the buyers. And they do tend to flip as a form of resistance when we lose them. All right, structurally, it's not looking too good. Just like Bitcoin, just hitting its head off that value area low. Ethereum kind of breached a little bit past the value area, but we never got like that break of structure continuation. If you're looking for, if you're in a short, then great. But what you really want to see is this low break before assuming that we're gonna come all the way down here. It's a strong key level. We'd lose the VWAP by then, right? And what you could look at, same as how we were looking at Bitcoin, we could pull from this low to this high. And I'll adjust my Fibonacci here for a second. You can see if there's any forms of confluence with your golden pocket 786 zone. So if I were to box this zone, and you can refine it if you want. If I were to refine this to make it a smaller box zone to prepare for an entry so it wraps more confluence, I'd maybe make this a little bit lower, like this, so I can be mentally prepared for the sweep here. But by doing that, you're excluding the 30-minute order block that we have right here. And I can zoom in on the 30-minute time frame so you can see what I'm talking about. So we got, whenever you see it, this is a very transparent, easy way to discover them. So whenever you see like a doji reaction like this, right? And then we have an impulse candle that closes above this area. Then we have a 2-candle pattern that defines evidence that there might be residual buy orders there, right? Bearish ones like this is a warning sign that there might be residual sell orders here. So we prepare for them as form of confluence, as resistance or support. So if we break this and come down here, we prepare for potential reversals. Tapping off this previous high, maybe sweeping this low order block and 786 golden pocket confluence. So here we could prepare for longs. If you're not already in an existing long, this might be your next opportunity if we come back down here. I'm not saying short this because of the opposing confluence. But if you do short this, you're going to have to babysit your trade around this area in hopes that we break this to try to take this low. All right, so that's Ethereum. I'm going to go back to the 15-minute time frame for anyone who uses my charts. Let's see. I think that's it for Ethereum and Bitcoin. Let's take a look at the chat. Good morning, Andrew. How you doing, man? Salon. Which indicator to use for the 162-day previous value low point of control? Already put it in manually with the help of the fixed range volume profile. That is correct. I use the fixed range volume profile, and then I use horizontal rays like this. And I just have my own presets for each one. So I have one for like the point of control, stuff like that. And then what I'll use is a measurement tool like this on the left-hand side to find out how much time has passed, right? With value areas, time creates strength. The longer we range in an area, the stronger that level becomes. If we lost like a 1-day valley area or like a I don't know, like a 15-hour valley area, I wouldn't normally keep it on my screen for very long. But the 60-day ones and the 200-day ones or anything like that, so those macro ones are really important to keep on screen, because once you get acceptance into them, it could really help you understand how your target could evolve to go and extend to higher or lower levels depending on what kind of trade direction you're going. But yeah, that's basically all I do, man. So just label it, and I color it so I immediately know I can do color identification and understand, okay, this is a valley high, valley low from green long. It's just matching psychology. So nothing too exciting. But yeah, you just got to make sure you understand when to do your pulls. Like pulls are, with your fixed range volume profiles, are really important. If you pull them incorrectly, it can get you in a lot of trouble. If you're guys looking for good rules for knowing when to pull a fixed range volume profile, I could draw it out for you. It's a beginner set of rules. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna need to find some clean space somewhere to draw. It's gonna go here. Working on a new project here. Something small. But over here, if we were to draw, I don't want to upgrade, guys. I already have it all. All right, so if you draw a pathing tool, what you want to look for when you're drawing your fixed range volume profiles is supply or demand. So I'm going to do a supply example first, and then like a bullish change of character, or a flip at least, right? And then come up, and then we get a bearish flip or bearish change of character, right? And then during that moment, you could start your fixed range volume profile pull. If we came up and mitigated supply, you start your pull from the supply. If we did not, let's say we hit our head here, instead, you'd start from that moment for your pull, right? And then you have your valley area low, valley area high, valley area high, valley area low, and your point of control to help prepare for trades. And your goal is to try to trade in the bottom and the top of the valley areas. And the only time I'd really recommend point of control for confluence for entries is when it's on the kind of like the lower side or the upper side. It's good to sometimes be more patient to wait for that to break. And then you don't really have to worry about much other than maybe internal supply or demand. Phone call. I'm just going to ignore that. Now going to like another example where we have, and then I'll show you some live examples right after. If we had, let's say we came up, another international call, built some demand, further or flip or bearish change, or bearish change character, came back down, bullish change character, and then during that moment you can start your pull. There are times where you can pull sooner than that, of course, and there's different ways you can use the fixed range volume profile. This is just one of the ways I use it for my clairvoyant strategy that we have in the course. It's more of a range trader's way of using it. You can use it as a trend trader too. For example, from the top of a trend-based move to the bottom of the trend-based move, like this, for example, you can do your pull from here to here, and then you have all your volume nodes and key areas to watch out for, and you know what the strongest point of interest is right here within that area. So if let's say you jumped into this bullish change of character that just occurred, this could be, as a trend trader, a key level that you would watch out for to maybe take some profits, right? And all these gaps here tell you the story of fast moving price action. So when we get above these areas and you get acceptance into it, then you can extend your target to the next node, right? So these will all help with target extensions as well along the way. Tons of cool ways you can use a tool, but the primary way I use it is for range trading. No problem, man. It's a good question. Let's see. Mark's here. Is this the real Kyle Jesmore? Yeah, man. How you doing, bro? Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, we're just patiently waiting on Bitcoin to reach our zone of interest. Great confluence here. And 3-minute time frames telling us the story of us hitting our head off of the VWAP. There's 2 things you could prepare for. We did have a bullish SFP that just occurred. So like that SFP comes with the technical target of the most recent pullback, which is like this high. And if we break that high, then we could long up to here, right? It would front run our zone, which would be a big pain in the butt. But there are other traders that would be looking at this, waiting for a confirmation for a long entry. Your day is always great when you catch Kyle streams. Thanks, man. Yeah, this, yeah, I wouldn't, just because I said there was an SFP here though, guys, I wouldn't take the trade. The one thing I'll be watching out for is how the next candle behaves in that scenario, because we are currently actively below the orb and you want to be like back within it. So you don't want to wait for a candle to get acceptance back inside before thinking about longs. This is like not every SFP is equal, right? Not every change of character is equal either. So you have to watch for, you want to stack confluences off of the structural reactions. Like this one actually came with decent confluence here, this opposing change character. But it was a short-lived move because like the technical target was brief and we just tapped into the previous high. On the larger time frame, like 15-minute time frame, we were bullish. So we had to listen to the restrictions of the higher time frame. Now, yeah, when you're using the 3-minute time frame, you got to think of like the 15-minute and the hourly as your boss, right? And where are the strong highs and strong lows of the higher time frames? And they're going to help you create like boundaries into knowing like where am I allowed to target internally within that time frame until that time frame breaks, and then you can say, okay, cool, I can hold this trade, or if you see opposing confluences, then you can get out. Yeah, so that would have, the orb here would have saved your butt from a bad trade here. You got another sweep. Okay, can we delete this? It's just noise now. What indicator do you use that marks out the change of character, breaks of structure, and SFPs? I use 11x. They're pretty awesome. It's a paid indicator, but you're not just getting this indicator, you're getting like a bundle. We do offer a discount to it. One of the creator of it is a member of the community. Yeah, we offer 10% off if you use the code like InvestiShare. So if you're interested in checking it out, you get this indicator. You get Argus, which is an indicator that shows you the wick levels between different exchanges. So it kind of acts like an overlay over top of your chart. Get risk management indicators, which are great. What else we get? You get the order block indicator, which is nice. That makes my day like lazy mode. If you're trying to make your life easier as like a full-time trader, like, yeah, 11x is great because it does a lot of your work for you. And I haven't seen it be wrong in a very long time. They just do an up. They're traders too, which is nice. They're not just indicator creators that aren't unprofitable indicator creators are a little frustrating, but these guys are great. I recommend like learning market structure first though before getting it, just so that you know when it's right or when it's wrong. Like for example, if you're using like Lux algos, like market structure indicators, you're going to be lied to all the time. But this is the most accurate market structure indicator I've ever seen. And if you guys can find a free version that I could tell people about, then great. But for now, this is the only one that I'd recommend. We're coming to our zone now. We're fully made it. We're past the equilibrium point of the 15-minute order block. So now we're very close to tapping the golden pocket on the ceiling of our zone here. But I'm expecting us to at least maybe sweep this low first. And hopefully we get some structure to define a good entry. Okay, I'm going to take a look at the percentage of supply here. This is Glassnode Studio. What they do is they use APIs and they connect it to like BTC Scan, like Etherscan, SolScan, stuff like that to find out data that represents. Oh, I gotta log in. This data represents what the holders are doing. Once I log in, I'll show you. It gives you a really good insight on the macro conditions. And the macro conditions are incredible right now. If you're like a longer term investor, we're almost at like perfect conditions to buy for like a huge move. We are, in terms of on-chain data, we're kind of matching what we saw in October 2023. If we zoom out really quick, let me say really quick because we're getting close to our zone. Our conditions right now are exactly like this, on-chain wise, right? But our price tag is a heck of a lot higher, right? And that's how you can use on-chain data to kind of predict bear market bottoms. And on-chain data kind of suggests that we're not in a bear market, we're kind of an evolving bull market. We're kind of like in a resting phase. And it kind of proves the super cycle theory that some people are talking about. And we might have another run up maybe during this year. But yeah, right now we are about 65% of the supply is in a profit, just like when we were at around like 27,000. Yeah. When we're in the green zone, that's when the majority of the supply is actually being held at a loss. So it's a massive indication that we're going to have a strong reversal. The last time that happens when we jumped into a macro cycle long position at like 16.9K is when I jumped in. We built that massive falling wedge posture. We ran up and we haven't really came down since, really. So I'm wondering if we do manage our way down there, I'm expecting the price to be around like the worst case scenario, guys. If we do continue macro like along the way down, I'm expecting for us to be in this like green zone and all the on-chain tools around like 65K, right? 65 to 70K. So that would be the absolute bottom if we don't reverse here, right? Just to get you mentally prepared for that, in case we do continue to go down. We'd have to take, obviously, on the daily, we're still bearish, right? We had an internal change of character, but we didn't break our strong high, which is way the heck up here at 107K. That's when you start seeing a lot of open mouth thumbnails from the big YouTubers, and they're calling for, I don't know, $1 million or something stupid like that. But by taking this low right here at 80,000, was it 80,300? 600 area, 8,600. If we take that low, then our strong high will evolve from here to here, right? And that would basically give us an opportunity. Maybe we can get a front run opportunity here to reverse, or maybe if we get a strong body close below this, we'd fall down to this amazing key zone right here at 74K. I'm not saying we'll ever get there, but if we do, get your spot bags ready. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be looking for a great entry here. And I'll probably be doing what's called an inverse perpetual trade. And that's when you can use your assets as collateral instead of a stable coin like USDT or USDC. And then you're using your asset as it goes up in value, your trade position goes up in value, and you're accumulating more of that asset. So you trade with Bitcoin, for example, you earn Bitcoin. Whereas most people are used to trading with stablecoins and earning stablecoins from their future setups. You could do like inverse perpetual on some exchanges, like Blowfin is the one that I use. It all kind of depends on where you are or whether or not you use a VPN. But depending on where you are, it might not be available to you unless you use a VPN to get access to some of the exchanges. But yeah, if we take this low, we have a strong demand zone off of this valley area high. This is the valley area that we were ranging in for, was it 200 days? Yeah, 250 days. It's ridiculous. Amazing money to be made during that. That was great. But yeah, we could, worst case scenario, take this low and come down and sweep this or get a strong bounce reaction off of this. And that's when I'd expect the supply to be held, a large majority of the supply, like over 50%, to be held at a loss. And the main thing that's holding the daily up right now is the valley area low confluence that we're looking at to prepare for our long setup. But if we don't get it, then we don't get it. Oh, rude. So I looking. Okay, so here we got a descending double bottom. We're about 40 seconds away from confirming a change of character or an SFP. Depends on how this candle closes. If it closes below this wick, we have an SFP, and then we'd be targeting down here. If we close above this wick, then we'd be targeting supply. And I personally be targeting up here. But this candle is nasty. I would like a retracement. Because your strong low on this time frame right now is here. If you entered a long, you're not getting the R&R you need. You might have the probability, but you're not getting the risk to reward ratio. And this, when you see these big pumps, they tend to be reclaimed. So just be good to be patient and see if it comes down. Maybe retest the neckline, the VWAP. Anyways, we front ran our area by about, I don't know, $10, something stupid. Or some of the community members would get and say like front ran by a happy meal. There's nothing happy about it though. See, maybe we'll retest this neckline and then come up from here. Good morning, Decent Crypto. How you doing, man? Back inside the open range, says Coma. All we need is a 5-minute chalk and a VWAP break. Yeah. Barge Builder says he loves the gold pocket. Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. It feels like magic, but it's market efficiency. more people that use Fibonacci, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. All right, we got that retest action. We come up. We do have a order block in our face. The 30-minute was a bit stringy. Eh? We got that crazy doji reaction, so we could hit our head off the floor. We can mark this as a local resistance. Zoom in on it, see what it looks like. Yeah, it's from this wick level low here. So when we tap that, we mitigate it. If we get acceptance back below this VWAP, then this would be in trouble. This is not something I'm in, by the way, guys. I'm not in on this. But yeah, when you see that kind of doji and then bullish engulfing candle after tapping a golden pocket, like based on my poll, yeah, we didn't tap the area, but this is kind of what you would want to see as a reaction if after hitting a golden pocket, right? The doji engulfing response, that then creates a structure to define an order block, and we tend to get a good reaction from it. We'll see if this is the end of the reaction or not. But we need to hold above this VWAP and this previous high. Losing this, we could make us fill these fair value gaps and come back down to the order block. I'm gonna make this a little more invisible here, so it's easier to kind of see the price action. You know, if it comes back down, it'd be good for me, but I'm not sure if it's good for anyone who may have jumped in on that. Just might have another opportunity to get in, just to add more liquidity to our zone of interest from the order flow in the form of like stop losses and liquidations. That acts like a magnet to market makers. Top of the afternoon. What's up, man? Coma saying the 15-minute order block below looks tempting, but VWAP is going to be above us. Yeah. Then we just have to watch the VWAP as a potential TP reaction zone. But yeah, it sucks gonna have to. It's always nice to have the view up on your side once you jump in a trade. So right now, this is the unclaimed high within this time frame, and this is the strong low. We're losing the VWAP, internal golden pocket. It's off the floor of the orb here. Well, while we're waiting for Bitcoin to paint its picture, I'm still kind of waiting down here for a long opportunity. Do you guys want me to look at any other assets? DJ Macoli. Nice name, man. Is there a 4-hour head and shoulders? Let's take a look. You want to have a head and shoulders leading into from a trend, right? Right now it's within a range. So let's see. I don't see, like, I could see what you're trying to force yourself to see. Like maybe like something like this, but it's not, it's like descending. It's more of a falling wedge than anything. So I'll be watching the seller's momentum It's the only thing you really got to monitor in this scenario. We got broad momentum here, and I'm sorry about all the noise. We got broad momentum here. So the pace of the sellers. So we have to watch out in the order books to see if there's a sell wall here. And we have evolving momentum. Yeah, like right here. We kind of like try to breach. That's kind of in line with our local one. But what you want to see for a head and shoulders to be, like head and shoulders, there, I could see like there's a decent example of one here, right? Right? When we come up from an uptrend, they're a lot more reliable because they, think of it as like a failure to create a higher high. When we come up, right? And then we have like something like this, we get that break of structure, and then we get a bounce. Sometimes we get a bearish change of character when we come down on the head and shoulders. That's what you kind of prefer. Get that bearish change of character. Then we pull back, induce liquidity below us. And then we can use fibs to prepare for the right shoulder. Right? And hit our head off the golden pocket, 76 zone. Get your early entry, stop loss guard up here, or stop loss guard on top of the internal strong high. And then you watch this as your main target. Or there's those who will try to get in on the contrarian entry where they're kind of waiting for the break of the low, and then they use this as their stop loss guard. And after a loss of momentum, super common for the right shoulder to act as a form of resistance from a loss of momentum. And then we come down to get to the measurable target. And the measurable target for a head and shoulders is based on the momentum. And you get from the head to the neckline here, a trend line. And you click and you drag below the neckline here. And it gives you a measurable target, and then you have to watch for any key barriers along the way, like some demand, right? That could be there, order blocks, stuff like that. But yeah, you tend to want to have a head and shoulders after a trend-based move because you have liquidity bias on your side for that short. And then there's the inverse head and shoulders, which is the same thing but upside down, right? I have a little video on it. It's a little silly, but we have a Batman head and shoulders video if you want to check it out. It's like, I don't know, 3 minutes long. It's more entertainment than educational, but it kind of goes through that. But you want to make sure you're getting them on the trend. You don't want to like, it doesn't mean they're not important when you see them in a range. Like, let's say we're ranging for a long time and then you see like something like this, right? The structure is still important. It does tell you that we just grabbed liquidity from the highs and that there's more likely liquidity pooled down below us in that kind of scenario. But it doesn't have the same kind of momentum that follows through with it. Let's see, we got the chat. Wouldn't it be a good long alternative or the retest of the orb floor? Yeah, I was just talking about that based on the 3-minute time frame. So you could pull a fib from this low to this high since we did flip bullish. And when you flip bullish with the structural time frame that you're looking at, you could pull a fib from the low to that unclaimed high. And you can see that we have our like a golden pocket aligned with the orb floor. And we have a 3-minute order block. But you will have VWAP in your face as a barrier. So you have to watch out for that if you do decide to take that as a trade. And there's like, 3 forms of confluence, but all the confluences come from lower time frames. So they're not too strong other than maybe the orb. The orb tells you a story of how, algorithmic market makers might be programmed for that day. And it tells us that, things are looking a little bullish. It's just a matter of how we behave when we get down here. The downside is with using this, you're pretty much all you really got for a stop loss guard is this low. Because you're not going to get a bullish change of character here to look out for, like internally, like maybe the 1 minute. It'd be a little bit ugly. you're going to have to get like a 2 candle pullback, break of the high, and then you could take that and you have to watch the unclaimed high and the VWAP as your bearish concerns in hopes that we break past it to then target the orb high from there. Price action is a little bit finicky right now. Right now we're getting a little bit of bounce reaction off our trend line, but that could be coincidental. But yeah, if you want better confluence for long, you gotta cross your fingers for this. Like coming down to our gold pocket from this pole, from here to here. Our gold pockets on the ceiling, our 786s on the floor. We have a 66-day value area low. And we have some orb blocks within it internally, like a 15-minute. The 15-minute ones, I think maybe it was mitigated. Yeah, it was mitigated. Helped induce this move up that we got so far, but that VWAP is king right now. And where we have local resistance marked is the floor of a 30-minute order block. We have some questions in the chat here. JR wants to look at Solana. Overcome wants to look at ZVCN. Curb wants to look at Ondo. Yeah, we could do that. We could do all that, guys. All right, let's take a look at this in order. So we had our first request was Solana. So we can take a peek there. And then we can start rotating to the other assets. So let's jump over to Solana. Solana is a good asset for those who like to SFP trade. Their market maker is just a liquidity grabber. And they do pretty good. Solana did lose a really strong key level right here. 126.72 was a 252-day value area low. If I zoom out on the daily, this bad boy has helped guide us into amazing opportunities. So when we're below the value area low, it's the best time to prepare for longs. Let me just get a really beginner-friendly Fibonacci retracement tool I just made over the weekend. So you can program it to look like... Oh, I didn't save it yet. 1 second. I'm going to save it. Oh, did I delete it? I did, didn't I? That is crazy. I got to redo all that work. What a bummer. Anyways, I'll rebuild it today and I'll post it in the Discord. Anyways, when we deviate below the value area low, it's a good spot to prepare for longs, and it's a macro value area low. You can see that every opportunity that we've had since we've gotten below this value area low for the past 700 days has given us an amazing long opportunity, right? All right. It'll either help us drive us to the point of control right here, which is at 144. 144 has been like a godly level for Solana. And the value area high here, this has given us amazing opportunities for shorts, right? So just a matter of making sure that you're waiting on structure to define the reversal, right? We had that during this moment down here when we had this ascending double bottom and break back inside of the valley area, which is this is where the valley area is here. We also had good confluence of the previous lows that was developed by the valley area low support zone. And then we just got our head hit from the point of control. Now we're kind of waiting on structure to define another entry again down here where we are. So Solana is a really big, important key zone. If you're a spot holder, this is a good spot to prepare for accumulation. I do recommend making sure that you jump in on a position of strength, meaning you're still waiting on structure to define that we're reversing and not just DCAing off of the level. If you DCA and you don't have the structure to define a reversal, then you could just end up having to buy at a lower level and buy again at a lower level, and then it ends up trapping your funds when they could be working for you instead, right? It all depends on what kind of investor or trader you are, but If you're a busy dude, then it might be a good spot to start accumulating. But if you're someone who can actively manage their portfolio in a way where you can grow at an aggressive pace, then I'd recommend waiting for a position of strength. And that would likely come from either like a higher time frame bullish change of character at these zones. We had Solana had a little bit of different unique structure compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum. We built this regression trend right here, which, by the way, these things make me nervous. Whenever I see these, I'm always worried that we're going to come right back down and take liquidity before running up. I don't usually like taking any, even if we get the bullish change of character, which looks like didn't happen on this time frame until here, right? Because we didn't have a proper pullback with a lower low taken, right? So this was our bullish change of character moment right here, where we actually flipped bullish, and we mitigated it as supply simultaneously. So yeah, that would make me a little nervous try to take that as a long opportunity, but that was the technical bullish change of character on the 3-minute. And then we had this descending regression trend, which tells you the same kind of story. But when you have this move up, basically you're looking at the order flow here and expecting liquidity to be taken, and we took all of that at this moment right here. Now we're fighting against our previous demand zone. We have this green box zone. It's because it was a previous zone of interest that we were looking at for longs. But this time around we kind of like, fully, we were fully motivated for this run up, so it's no longer helpful to us anyways. We have a opposing confluence here with got an ore block supply issue. So we'll send this to back, make this red. We get that structural value low. So I'm expecting the first time we come up here to really hit our heads and come back down. Maybe induce a range to allow us to eventually get acceptance to that value area. But once we get acceptance in that value area in the form of a break of structure like this, we can start targeting the value area high again at 130 while being mindful of that point control at 128. And we delete this. Let's get rid of some of this noise. You can click control or hold control and click and drag. Get this box, and then you can highlight everything and delete it. If you ever want to save some time, you just got to make sure you're highlighting the anchor points or else it won't delete it. So this is our momentum, right? So if you're preparing for shorts, this is the 15-minute time frame. I do prefer the 15-minute time frame over others, but sometimes you can have to dissect stuff. What I'd like to see for Solana for a good short is for us to come up and hit our head here. This will become our new key level. If that breaks, based on the current VWAP positioning, we'd have to watch that as a barrier. But as time progresses, this should become flush with this zone, and then you can have the confluence of the break of the VWAP and this neckline zone for a bearish flip or a bearish change of character. If we take this high, then go low. And then we start targeting down here where we have the 15-minute order block while being mindful of this wick level low here that could induce a reversal. We get your magnet tool out, connect it right to that wick level. And we don't have this confirmed yet as a proper fib pull. We might have it confirmed soon. But if we pull from the low to the high, there we go. When a way to help validate your fib pulls is structure. So if we have a bearish change of character, it's a good way to help validate that pull. And then you can watch this as a key level of interest for potential longs. And we delete this box zone. This is helpful during this moment, but it looks like I missed this opportunity. So you can delete this now. And this could be our new area of interest. Right here. And you could refine it down to the order block if you like. if you need that confluence, a part of your rules, right? Now, fibs are great. Have a good partnership with order block. So if you want to set up a set of rules for yourself where you have a checklist where I will not enter a trade unless we hit like a gold pocket or 76 alongside of a gold order block from this time frame, you need to have, I really, really recommend you guys have a checklist like that so that you're dictating your actions based on logic and you're kind of getting rid of all the emotion, right? And you're just focusing on the rules. Okay. So key level right now is here. This will not induce a change of character yet. But that bearish flip and confluence with losing that uptrending momentum on Solana would be great. And hopefully the VWAP catches up. And you might even get a higher high here, pull back, and then another higher, and that would rotate your key level from here to that point of interest. And like this kind of scenario would actually be better because it would come with the confluence of hitting your head off that value low and hitting this supply and 30-minute order block. So this would be a lot better, this kind of scenario. And you get more R&R to then target back down to these lows. I hope that helps you out with Solana, but that's what I'll be preparing for trading Solana right now. Let's go back to Bitcoin, see how it's doing. It's got the crunch going on here. We got that bounce so far off the orb low where we had our like internal golden pocket, but I'm not really convinced yet. We might build a bullish order block here in about 30 seconds, depending on how this candle closes. If this candle closes above this wick, it's really tight, but if we close above this wick, then we'll have a bullish order block printed. And the order block would be from like this low to this high, similar to what we saw here. And it didn't confirm. That's okay though. All right, let's see what we got in the chat next. What's the name of this SFP strategy developed within the community? It's right now it's named as like liquidity reversion model, or LRM for short. Okay, what's the next request? We got a request to look at ZBCN. Let's take a peek at that. I don't think we have a chart for that, so I'm just gonna pull it up on our Bitcoin layout. Go look at the Bybit chart. They have really good liquidity. They're looking like they have relative weakness right now. There's a good textbook example of when to pull a fixed range volume profile, supply, right? Got that bullish change of character, opposing break. We got a lot of internal price action right now between this low and this high. So this is all internal until we break this low or break this high, but we're internally bullish right now. Well, internally bearish, sorry, but macro conditions are bullish against that internal price action. It's a 3-minute time frame. Let's zoom out though, see the bigger picture stuff. CBCN, what you doing, man? We got a strong demand here. Holding us up. Got a 6-hour order block down here. It's still not tapped. We have downtrending momentum, the pace of the sellers. We're building a descending triangle, right? Which tells us a story that this is a strong area that's being guarded as a form of support. So they've got buyers waiting here. But there's sellers are keep creating lower highs. So we got to watch out for a limit sell wall here in the order books for CBCN. If there's a limit sell wall here, then you expect this to be honored as a form of resistance. If there is no sell wall here, then what you want to hope for is like a bullish change of character leading to the break out of this, and then we start taking liquidity from these highs, right? So we're compressing and squeezing the price action, and the apex point for this suggests that we could, in theory, be stuck here for another 502 bars. Let's go with the daily because it's telling us the bars, and we need to know at the time. I don't want to do math in my head right now. Yeah, it could. Yeah, so we could be stuck here for another 80 or so days, holding the zone. You want to mark your wick level lows, right? So this is where liquidity is likely resting, where you could prepare for SPs or sweeps to return back up. We're having this little internal dance right now against the 200 and the 50-day EMA as a form of resistance. We tried to hold the 50 as support, and we did, but then we failed against the 200, and we're starting to come back down. So it does look like macro-wise, it's on its way down, back down to, these numbers are ridiculous, but 0.00230024. So I'd be looking around here initially. And then we can look at lower time frames internally here to find out like how we could be behaving along the way down, like any barriers. Because I can see right now that there could be something right here in the lower time frames that could dictate a bounce too. We can find that out together. Let's delete this, delete this, delete this. We can pull a fixed range volume profile for our macro pull here. Start from the point where we get that break of structure lead out to here until this is mitigated. So right now we're deviating below the value area low. So it's a good spot where we would prepare for longs, but it'll be a longer wait because it is the daily time frame we're looking at right now. And now we can zoom in on like the hourly, and we can see, yeah, that we're definitely right with that area of interest. We got demand here, and we got order blocks here waiting. So I'd personally be wrapping this zone here of area interest as an area of interest. Send it back. We could pull fibs from this low way down here. To this high. And we had our initial reaction already. Like here, we got this bounce here as well. We got a bit of bounce here. Our 786 is in line with our area of interest that we just marked. So we compare here for potential bounce after we grab liquidity from these lows. But if we fail to get that reversal structure, then down here is where I'll be looking for a bounce at 0.0023. So CBCN right now, macro is kind of telling us the story that it's being kind of suppressed. It's being squeezed down, and it's getting ready for statistically a move up. Like that, statistically with the descending triangle, we have a higher probability of going up because of the nature of how we're taking liquidity from the lows, and we keep stacking liquidity above us. Doesn't mean jump into a long now. You still have to wait for the confirmation, but that's what's going on right now from what we're seeing. We also have like a lower time frame value area that we can draw from this demand here, which was basically fully mitigated during this pull. So you can include the demand in your pull from here to here. And we're at the value area low, kind of fighting for its life right now. And I flip bearish when we had that close below this area on the 30 minute, sorry. So what you want to see is this low taken and then this high taken in order for it to flip bullish again. And that would be a really good confluence for a long back up to the value area high. But this point of control has a lot of opposing confluence. We have that at 0.0029383. We have the 30-minute order block and we have the 50-day EMA there. So if I were to visualize, if I were to give you pathing that I would prefer for a long, it would be a sweep at that low first, grab that newly added liquidity, come up, break this high, but we'll likely see a bearish reaction from a retest of this point of control. And that's, you're gonna have to babysit this trade quite a bit during this moment. And we could come back and hit our head off this point of control, retest this neckline, then come up from there. But that's a big ask. Macro wise though, you'd prefer it to come down and prepare for longs down here instead. If we maintain the pace of this momentum to get down there, it suggests that it could take us about 6 days to get down there. And that would align with Bitcoin likely coming down to its extreme lows around 80,000. We're going back to Bitcoin's price action, see how it's doing. Having the doji dance still against the VWAP. Got a good initial reaction off that. We're talking about this as a golden pocket. Really strong reaction, but still kind of failing against that VWAP in order for us to get this move to the opposite side of the orb. Ondo request. Hey, it's Alex O Crypto. How you doing, man? Yeah, Alex O Crypto is a great trader if you guys are looking to learn from someone else as well. Him and I share a lot of notes. CVCN is a partner. They partner with MasterCard, working on a card that has crypto to fiat at will, also payments from work to crypto. Okay, so they're competing with a lot of assets then. So you gotta make sure you're watching their competitors and see how they're doing in their development process, because they could absorb market shares from each other. But based on what we saw with CVCN, looks like it was doing extremely well, and now it's just consolidating and hopes for a strong continuation up. How high do I think Slive will go? I don't know what Slive is, but we can take a look at that later. Ondo. Okay, Ondo request. You know, one thing you got to be concerned about with those assets. And I'm not saying that they won't stay in their partnership and stuff like that, but Chainlink is kind of allowing banks to be able to do that themselves very soon, based on their partnership with banks. So just watch out, because banks are going to be able to make their own networks very shortly because of Chainlink, and that's why Chainlink is like my second largest bag, because it's more of a guarantee. So I don't like to invest in higher risk alts anymore like I did last cycle. I put in a lot of, I spread myself pretty thin last cycle between a bunch of alts, and then this cycle I try to make it a rule to not go over like 12 assets, because it's hard to manage a whole bunch of things and watch all the stuff going on with them. Like, you're only one person, so just, yeah, be a little cautious with spreading yourself too thin with a whole bunch of alts. A lot, like my mentality last cycle was, oh, if I put like $100 into every asset, one of them's bound to 100x, right? But what really ended up happening was a lot of them did really well, a lot of them did extremely bad, and then I kind of like balanced myself out with my alt portfolio, and the only thing that really made me a lot of money was Bitcoin. So like I kind of became a Bitcoin maxi from like, I did 2 inverse perpetual trades that completely changed my life, and the range trading in between that is what allowed me to pay my bills, so I didn't have to withdraw from that trade. So it's, yeah, Bitcoin's key, guys. If you want something safe. So let's take a peek at Ondo. I know we had a request for that. Ondo's a good asset too. They have BlackRock's involvement in it. It's a really good range trading asset if you're a range trader. I haven't looked at it in a while though. Looks like this was the last time we're looking at. We're looking for a short after a break at this key level, and we were watching up for this demand zone. And yeah, the demand zone didn't hold very well. So you could have technically have held that. I think I shorted a different asset that day. Instead, this was like in early January. So let's delete this noise now. We don't need it anymore. Let's see, previous high support. We got a more broad momentum here still. So this thing is still in a macro downtrend. Rough. So we got evolving momentum here and a more broad momentum here. These ones, we have quite a bit of negative space from this trend line, so you take it with a grain of salt. But if you see its sell wall in the order books and confluence with this, then you know it's going to be honored, right? So it's good to keep them on there so you're aware of it, and it could just notify you, okay, now's a good time to look at the order books to see if there is limit sell wall, like following that trend line or not. And we have internal momentum ever since we hit our head off of this value area low as a form of resistance, right? We saw that we had it marked as supply, so we're going to have to watch that along the way up to 33 cents, man. Like, that's intense. I like the structure that we've got. We took this low right here. Is that, what day is that? Okay, it's the 18th of January. So this will give us a change of character on the 4-hour time frame if we break that high. So that's a good key level on the for swing traders. You can pull right that. Oh, we have an order block there, but it looks like it was mitigated. Now, locally right now we're at internal supply. So we'll see how we do against this. But we're fighting a little battle right now. There's a chance of potential trapped holders in this area that might be exiting. They might already had their exit plan. We see that we had an initial reaction here with this doji. This is a red candle, but I have it programmed to look white. So this is an area of, we can see that we had initial reaction. We'll see if we get any opposing changes to character that actually will drive the price down or not. But yeah, we're having like a little battle right now. We broke down trending momentum, so the pace of the buyers are kind of speeding up, right? The sellers are kind of getting overtaken. So we have good opposing confluence telling us to come up. And it's grabbing these lows. So this is just our first little barrier that we have to watch out for in hopes that we continue to start coming after this unclaimed high. And then we'll have that 4-hour bullish change of character. It doesn't mean we're going to go up straight away. Right, this pullback was induced from this supply initially, right? So we could come up, mitigate that supply, and then after we had that change of character and pull back a little bit, and then during that moment, if you have any opposing reactions, you can start doing your fib pull from the low to the high at that level and see if there's anything with good confluence to prepare for longs from a pullback. But 33 cents for an Ondo, that's a good price tag for accumulation. And if you want to have a position of strength, then you definitely want to have a higher time frame agreeing with you with the bullish change of character. It's the front run opportunity that just recently happened here. But with the supply, we could, I don't know why I deleted it, I'm sorry. With the supply, we could pull back initially and have a better structure to define a reversal soon. If not, then you're going to have to, this is not something I would jump in on. I would not jump in along on this. If we went range bound a little bit and then had maybe a break of structure continuation, then maybe something like that. But right now it's trying to tell us a story of whether or not we're going to reverse. On the 5-minute time frame, this is our bearish change of character here. And it'll come with the confluence of losing the VWAP, and then we can prepare for a move back down. Well, that's Ondo. Hope that helps you out. I should prepare to accumulate Ondo. Yeah, Ondo's a good asset to hold longer term. Once we have that evidence of reversal, because it's been getting its butt kicked. A lot of alts have. Shout out to Kyle, one of the real ones. Thanks, man. Crypto, your hero? Yeah, he's a good guy. Silver. Oh, okay. Well, I should have made that connection. I'm sorry, man. I'm kind of running out of time here, guys. Let's see if I can find what? Dash. XS. XRP. Oh, look at XRP. ISO. Okay. Oh, that reminds me. XRP. Stellar Lumens. I'm going to look at Stellar Lumens with you guys because there could be a great opportunity there. Kind of a sleeping dragon right now. We'll look at XRP real quick, but I want to take a peek at Stellar Lumens with you guys because I haven't really done that much TA on it, but I know that there's a lot of regulatory developments going on with it. And it looks like the last time we're looking at XRPs, we're preparing for a long after a bounce off this demand zone here, and likely getting our head off rejected off of the this volume shelf gap here. The volume gap, by the way, is a form of resistance that a lot of people neglect. We gotta pay attention to them. Yeah. So we have, whenever you see a B, the kind of pattern like this, we move quickly between volume shelves, right? You can see that price action moves very quickly between the zone of interest, but on the top side or the bottom side, they act as a form of resistance or support, right? And so here we were watching for a long and hitting our head off of this, but we got front ran a little bit and then came back down. This was our most recent macro condition long right here, similar to what we're preparing for with the Ondo chart, right? If we zoom out on Ondo in the larger time frame, like the 4 hour, this is kind of like what we're waiting for on what we were waiting for on XRP before in the past. Now we're kind of back down to that area of interest again. We can zoom out. You can see that we've got local support level based on previous highs, I believe. Yep, yeah, previous high from back in April 2021. We were consolidating off of that as a form of support, and we built posture to suggest insane moves up, but we just grabbed liquidity and had a reversal. We got acceptance back inside this macro range, and now we're at that macro range. We kind of deviated below that value area low. So it's a spot where you prepare for longs, but also a spot where you be incredibly cautious. So you got to make sure you have that evidence of support first in case we fail here, because we can come down quite a bit. XRP still hasn't mitigated its wick level low. It doesn't have to, but like there's some assets like Bitcoin, for example, who have. But XRP doesn't have as much liquidity as Bitcoin, so its wick level reaction is going to be more aggressive. There's some assets that have some that are like all the way down to almost zero. So price action is going to be internal for some assets for a very, very long time. So it kind of makes messy price action. Let's delete some of this noise. Don't need most of this anymore. Yeah, good daily reaction so far. Good V-shaped recovery. Ascending to the bottom of the lower time frames. Send this to back. So I have this golden box. Whenever you see a golden box in my chart, it represents an area where there's a large amount of pooled liquidity. So whenever there's liquidity in a zone, you can anticipate a reversal off of it because it can be used as entry liquidity or exit liquidity for large institutional traders because they depend on it in order to get in with the least amount of slippage. right? So they can get in less noticed, right? Or with less fees as well. So we have our momentum. We didn't get a change of character that's bearish, but we did fail to create a higher high, this is called a descending double top. We broke that neckline. We have 4 minutes left on the candle to confirm it, but this is an early warning sign that we could be reversing. To make it more concrete that we are going to be reversing, we need to have a bearish change of character. A flip is like a front run to a change of character, similar to an SFP being kind of like a front run to that as well. So we need to break this low to get that. Yep, it will be a bearish change of character. I was worried about an inside bar scenario here, but it looks like we got it. So if we break this low, we should have the confluence of losing the VWAP and losing the momentum to drive us down. And the reason why you want to be a little cautious here is because of the fact that we have previous highs, the VWAP, and momentum, right? So we have to have that close below here to get all those confluences, opposing confluences invalidated to help drive the price down further. This is our previous all-time high from 2021. And we can see that we had some order blocks here. So a lot of people jumped in on the reaction of us reclaiming it, right? When we reclaimed, then retraced, and then we had a lot of people react off of that zone. So we created a bullish order block. So there could be residual buy orders here. So this is going to be an early warning sign or early exit plan area if things go south. But if we break past this, then we'll be looking for longs again down here. So XRP is doing well at trying to recover. We have downtrending momentum here. And see how it does. We can pull a fixed range volume profile. It's not a very clean area of interest, but we've been ranging here for a while now. You see most of our interest is like right around here. And we're rejecting off of that like volume shelf right here, similar to like what we're preparing for up here. That last short. Got below that point of control. So we can see that we have our valley area low is flush with that 2021 all-time high. So this would be definitely a spot to watch out for potential bounce reaction. So if you're looking for longs, you're probably going to have VWAP against you, but you can use VWAP as confluence on your break back up. You can also do a fib pull from this low to this high. And our 0.5 equilibrium points align with that. It's not as fun as a gold pocket, but I think we have enough confluences here to do draw our box zone. 30-minute order block, 15-minute order block, valley area low, previous all-time high. All right, that's XRP, man. I hope that helps you out. But I want to take a quick peek at Stellar Lumens before I have to go. Stellar Lumens is like a sleeping dragon right now, getting ready to explode. XLM? Oh, we don't have an XLM chart. What's wrong with us? Ooh, we might be coming down to our zone soon for Bitcoin. XLM USDT. We'll look at it on Binance's chart. And we'll zoom in on this in the daily and see how it's doing. Yeah, it's been a while since we take a peek at this thing. All right, so we'll zoom in on this thing on this is the daily time frame. All right, so this is the last bear market. Around this time, Bitcoin was at like 16.9K, I believe. Yeah, 16K. And then we had that banking crisis area here. Oh, no, this was the banking crisis here. Sorry. If you guys remember that. And then we had our massive blast off here. Got acceptance back inside our previous bull market valley area. This valley area is almost 400 days old, like 396 days. And we have this downtrending momentum squeezing us against that valley area low. What I'd love to see, we already did flip bullish during, oh, we didn't technically, did we? Yeah, we need to have a pullback. Take this low. Oh, my bad. If we take this low, this would be our generated key level. And from that key level to the valley area high, if we behave the same way we did the last time we were here in this zone of interest, and how we behaved about, I don't know, 200 days ago, we're getting suppressed and stacking a ton of liquidity above us. And from that key, if you're to wait for this key level to break, you'll definitely be able to front run this for sure. You'll definitely be able to front run this, but just from the key level, if you didn't front run it to the valley high, it's like a 80% move. So I'll be looking for longs. This is a good time to prepare for a spot buy, or you can do futures if you'd like, but just be mindful of the fact that if you do a futures long on a swing trade like this, that could take, like, we might not run up as quickly as we did last time. Like, this was only a 5-day run to get to the value high again, where we had that 80% sprint, right? We might not have a 5-day run up. So you got to prepare for the mindset like that. This could take months for us to get back up there, especially if you front run it. And that every day you're going to get hit with funding rate fees on your trade. And you're going to have to, that's why I closed my inverse perpetual long on Bitcoin, because the funding rate fees, there are some days that were costing me like $250 a day. And if I had like a trading day where I only made like $250 or $300 in a trade, then I'm basically trading for free just to fund that large trade, right? So it's good to try to focus on maybe a spot mindset in this area for stellar lumens, just because of that fact that, yeah, you don't want to get destroyed by fees. Like, it's 80%, guys. You don't need leverage. And you do it safe way. So yeah, we do want to make sure that we get in a position of strength in case XLM fails here. Because if it fails here, it's going to fail hard, and it's going to come down, like, it'll lose half its market cap. Even just like coming down to our next key area of interest is way down here at like 13 cents. We do have this wick level that is flush with these previous highs that could save us for a sweep and return back up if we were to fail here. But we're looking for structure very similar to what we saw like right here, right? But a more macro, like breaking here. And then we can have more internal structure here to help front run that unclaimed high here. And maybe give us like a 2x rather than just 80%. So we have demand here, mitigated. Yeah. So we'll rotate this from here to here. That looks like it tapped the order block. Not sure, it's not counting. And we hit supply, coming down. We break this, confirm a further drop. Yeah, so I'll be looking for longs down here for XLM. Be incredible spot buy. You can do futures too, simultaneously alongside of it. Just be aware that the fees will be nasty holding that for long term, especially on altcoins. Funding rate fees can be nasty. I'm going to clone this chart and work on it some more, do some more TA on it. But the ISO 20022 tokens the regulations are starting to work in their favor right now. So it's good to prepare for a run for XRP, a run for XLM, or any other ISO tokens. because they'll all run at the same time once that news gets out. We're going to clone this. Right, there we go. All right, guys, I do got to go. I'm sorry I didn't get everyone's TA requests. But yeah, we're looking for longs down here. Just waiting for the structural evidence of the support first. We had a couple of moves here that made us think that we might have a front run opportunity, but the fair value gap run up like that, you don't trust them. Whenever you see those big moves that are meant to trap traders, yeah, your only real safe trade maybe off that was maybe the order block reaction acceptance right here, and then you just had to get out as soon as we close below here, but very small gains. We got a little bit of an S&P reaction right now on the 3-minute, but again, we're below the orb. Same kind of scenario as before. Hard to trust unless we get the close into the orb, and then you have to watch the VWAP again. So if you take this, I'd recommend waiting for a close back inside the orb first in case we just lead our way back down. And we have our valley area low, our 66-day valley area low here that we're preparing for structure. This box zone is also the golden pocket on the ceiling and the 786 on the floor. And we have a 15-minute order block. Oh, I believe we mitigated that 15-minute order block. Yeah, we did. We have a 3-minute order block, but it's not nearly as strong as a 15-minute. But yeah, this is a good area of interest to prepare for longs. Just got to wait for structural evidence first. Similar to what we saw in the 3-minute, like a bullish change of character here, right? That kind of confluence, the structural confluence alongside this area of interest would be a good spot to prepare for longs. And then we have to watch our head again at this 4-day valley area low that we've been using as resistance since we left it during this moment here. So that's what we're kind of waiting on. Hopefully for a rotation up to like from 86,866 to 88,820. Macro, guys, I'd love for you guys to focus your attention on XLM. Not financial advice, of course. It's really picture perfect, and regulations are catching up to kind of like help give ISO tokens a boost. So if XLM isn't what your choice, then XRP is a good asset to look at too. XRP has more liquidity and more holders, but XLM has a greater chance for a bigger percentage-based move to the opposite side of its macro value area. So I hope everything that we went through together helped you out. I hope you learned something. If you did, please like, subscribe, share. We're trying to grow to 25,000 subscribers this year by December of this year. So it's up to you guys to help me get there. I'll do my best to give you all the help and content that you need to help you guys grow as traders. If you have any questions that I didn't help answer for you guys today in this live, then you can reach out to me in the Discord and I'll get to you as soon as possible, okay? Have a great day, guys.